Welcome to Paranormal, where the shadows whisper and true stories blur the line between reality and nightmare. Every encounter shared here is real and far more disturbing than fiction. Dare to listen?
The house nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains looked ordinary enough at first glance. Its weathered wood, solid foundation, and quiet surroundings painted the picture of a peaceful home, tucked safely away from the chaos of the outside world. When the narrator and spouse moved in during the late winter of 2021, they believed they had found a place to start fresh, a retreat where the mountains could cradle their tired souls. But what they didn't know then was that this house carried a history, one that refused to be forgotten. Years before the narrator ever crossed its threshold, tragedy had already seeped into its walls. The man who once lived there, an older resident named Tommy, collapsed inside the home. Whether from a heart attack or a stroke, no one could say for sure. The ambulance rushed him away to the small community hospital, accompanied by his loyal best friend, while his wife remained behind, strangely detached, never following after him. On Valentine's Day of 2016, Tommy passed away, leaving this world, but perhaps not the house. For years, the place stood quiet. Then, in 2021, when the narrator and spouse made it their home, they soon realized it was not as empty as it appeared. Subtle disturbances crept into their lives. Objects shifted from one spot to another. The floorboards echoed with the slow, steady creak of footsteps in the night. Footsteps belonging to no one. Both the narrator and spouse lived with PTSD, and these disturbances only magnified their unease. The spouse often woke in the dark, swearing that someone was walking inside. He'd checked the cameras, certain an intruder was caught on film, but the footage always showed the same thing: an empty house, still and silent. To keep the fear at bay, they gave the unseen force a name. They began to call it Tommy, as though it were the former owner, playing tricks from beyond. It became easier to laugh at the mischief than admit the presence was all too real. For years, the disturbances never grew beyond those small, unsettling reminders. Strange sounds, shifting objects, the heavy feeling of unseen eyes. But one evening, everything changed. The narrator was browsing real estate listings online, not with any real intention of moving, but out of curiosity. A house in West Virginia caught the eye, bright, open, with a sweeping view of the mountains. Excited, the narrator showed it to the spouse, pointing out the beauty that far surpassed their current home. "This one has way more windows than ours," the narrator said with admiration. "And the view is incredible. I really like it." The words had barely left the narrator's mouth when a sudden shriek shattered the silence. The smoke detector blared, sharp and piercing, echoing through the house with a sense of urgency. Panic struck. Together, they scrambled through the rooms, searching for fire, smoke, any sign of danger. But there was nothing. No smoke, no fire, not even the faintest scent of something burning. Just silence. The alarm stopped as abruptly as it had begun. The narrator and spouse stood frozen, their unease deepening with every passing second. The timing had been too perfect. In all their years living there, the smoke detector had never gone off without cause. And now, at the exact moment the narrator expressed interest in another house, it screamed through the walls like a warning. Slowly, a thought began to take shape. What if Tommy didn't like it? The idea seemed absurd, but the more they thought about it, the more it made sense. For years, they had joked about Tommy's lingering spirit, about his little games of mischief. But this was different. This wasn't playful. This was a message. It felt as though Tommy had spoken clearly, without words. "This is my house. Stop looking elsewhere." The realization sent chills through them both. Had Tommy grown possessive, territorial, perhaps even jealous? This was the place where he had spent his final moments, where his life ended. If his spirit truly lingered, this house wasn't just wood and stone. It was his last tether to the living. To hear someone dream of leaving it behind, replacing it with something brighter, something better, maybe that was enough to stir his anger. The silence after the alarm was almost worse than the sound itself. The house seemed to hum with a heavy stillness. Every creak in the floorboards rang louder. Every shadow seemed darker. The walls felt closer, as though the house itself was aware of what had happened. That night, the narrator lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the sound of the smoke detector in their mind. The thought gnawed at them. What if Tommy wasn't just mischievous, but protective? What if he intended to keep them there, no matter what? The morning sun brought light, but not comfort. The unease clung stubbornly. The timing of that alarm could not be ignored. It wasn't just coincidence, it was deliberate. And so questions remain. How far would Tommy's spirit go to keep them there? Would he continue with small warnings like the alarm? Or would his actions grow bolder, more forceful with time? The house in the Appalachian Mountains had always been more than just a home. It was a place where life and death intertwined, where the past refused to fade. The narrator and spouse may live there now, but perhaps it never truly belonged to them. Perhaps it always belonged to Tommy, and maybe he's not ready to let anyone leave. If you found this story chilling, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more unsettling real-life encounters. And tell us in the comments, do you think Tommy was sending a warning? Or was it all just coincidence?